O'Neill channel and the Old Trafford Task Force is set to give its recommendation on the future of Manchester United Stadium by the end of December. Plenty of updates to get into today, Red, so get your opinions in the live chat and the comment section below, and we'll discuss throughout today's video. First of all, what do you think?
Well, Sir Jim Ratcliffe promised change when he come in, and his priority was a new stadium. He's given a deadline date for the 31st of December. That's 1 year since he's been in. And I am shocked that it's been done so quickly. But he did promise it. This 20-man committee are sitting today. One of them is Gary Neville. He's had plenty to say. Very interesting article today. We've got plenty here. We're going to discuss it. We're going to give you as much out of it as possible we can and make sense of it.
From what you've read in the article, I've read it as well. It is from The Athletic, so it is behind a paywall. So I've just tried to get the key points from that on screen for you all to have a look at, which we'll get back up shortly. But what do you think Sir Jim Ratcliffe's preference is, his own personal preference?
Look, there's been PR for a long time since he's walked in here, and it's always been talk of 100,000 stadium. You know, he wants it to be the best stadium in the country, the Wembley of the North. Listen, this committee, what a meeting. What I'm reading here, what I've heard, it's going to be a brand new stadium. The talk of redevelopment and all that of Old Trafford, to me, that's not going to happen. At the end of the day, the money talks. He wants a new stadium. Where the money's going to come from, we don't know at this moment. Gary Neville speaks about it today. He hasn't got a clue. That's not his issue. His issue is dealing with the community. But it's a brand new stadium. And to be honest with you, when I've read comments from fans, I've talked to fans, listened to what's going on around, and everyone seems to be coming around with, it's a new stadium. Times are changing, and you've got to look to the future. So I think everyone really isn't going to be shocked that when it comes out, it's a brand new stadium. That's how it's all working. So Jim Ratcliffe wants it. So at the end of the day, I look at it this way. That's what we're going to get.
That's what we're going to get. Gary Neville did mention that it's not the task force dealings to be doing like the financial aspects of whether we should redevelop or build a new stadium. And he firmly put it on Ratcliffe's toes as to say, look at his business CV, and if he does want a new stadium, he'll get it done.
Yeah, well,
with the funding.
He was asked about the finances in the interview, Gary Neville, and he says that's not his concern. Too right, it's not his concern. He actually explains his concern is dealing with the infrastructure, the community, bringing what's best for the community, health benefits, everything, education, you name it, the lot. That's his concern, not the financial. He does talk about Ratcliffe saying he's got great business acumen. He knows where to bring in the money. There's people being brought in. He's taking the funding, and he doesn't want to put it on the club. Gary Neville firmly believes that Jim Ratcliffe will not put any debt or anything on the club. That's what I'm reading he's saying, but he clearly doesn't want anything to do with funding. That's not what the advisory board is set there for. They're going to deal with the infrastructure, whether they see Old Trafford being redeveloped or give advice for a new stadium.
A lot of people in the chat are mentioning about all the great memories they've still got from Old Trafford. But what's your own memories of Old Trafford? And, you know, will it leave any sore points for you if it was to move to a new stadium?
No, I've come around. To be honest with you, I've come around. I look at it in my own way, and I look at the future generations of the fans coming through. I love being at Old Trafford. You know, when families bring the kids and everything like that, you just see you want the best for them. We've gone through the tough times, like in the 70s, 60s, and all that, 80s. Stadium, football, it was just a complete mess. Now fans want an experience, and Gary Neville talks about having a fans experience. That's what it's all about, bringing the fans experience and bringing a brand new stadium. I think the cost far outweighs the benefits, really, redeveloping Old Trafford to bring everything what's needed, an upgrade, a new experience for fans, and only a brand new stadium will do that. Gary Neville sees that. Obviously, the money is a big problem for the infrastructure, what he's dealing with in and around the surrounding areas of Old Trafford. He looks at it there as though like the government That's what they're talking about. That's the conversation, what's been going on. They will take it on the road to the Labour Party conference. They will take it to the Conservative Party conference, where they will show what they want to do with the infrastructure and the community. The council's involved. They will be looking for money coming from the government to deal with infrastructure. The stadium is separate. That's how I read that.
Fans will also be given a voice, and Gary Neville did mention that fans shouldn't be sceptical. That's the one. Bit early for me to come out with a word like that.
We got it
out. Got it in the end. But yeah, sceptical about fans giving the voices, and it will be heard.
Well, you've got to remember this. A lot of fans, especially my generation, right, are sceptical of the club when they talk to fans, because they don't talk to fans, they don't listen. That's how we've been treated for years and years and years. And will they really take into account what the fans want? This is all about money. At the end of the day, they're looking for money for the infrastructure, money for the ground, and the fans, will they really have a voice? Don't forget, we're customers. I'm being cynical. That's how a lot of people do look at it. People look at it the other way. You've got to get your voice in. And quite right, they're looking for the community to get the voice in. I think the community around Old Trafford, the surrounding areas, has a stronger voice than the actual fans, because they will determine with the council and everything what can and can't and what their needs are. I think that's what Gary Neville's looking at. But the fans, yes, they've got an opportunity to put in, and quite right, put it in. But will it be the final say? Certainly not. Not in my opinion.
Yeah, what sense do you get from Gary Neville himself? Do you think he'd prefer to stay at Old Trafford, redevelop it, or move to a new stadium? Because it was kind of unclear in certain comments that he did make.
Well, he makes it unclear. Quite clearly, it's unclear. He doesn't want to commit. I've committed. I want a new stadium. I understand the needs of what's going forward. Gary Neville clearly should understand that, and he's not committing himself. He doesn't want to be on one side or the other side. I think he's just avoiding a bit of flack. He gets a lot of flack. We all know that. He also gets a lot of praise, but I don't think he wants to put himself on one side. He's going to look at everything and what's best. He wants what's best for Manchester United, and whatever that outcome is, he's going along with it, but he won't commit.
Yeah, he does say it's, the history of Old Trafford, what it means to him, and a lot of fans out there.
Yeah.
It'd be too easy just to abandon and discard the idea of staying at Old Trafford. And if he was to move away from the current ground now, he seems to think that knocking that down from 75 to 15,000 seater for the women's team and the academy, it wouldn't make financially sense.
No, well, it was
financial sense.
Yeah, financial sense. No, it's a lot of money. The talk was 30,000 stadium, knock it down, women's team, and then it was all talk of etc. Fill it with this, fill it with that. Doesn't make sense from a financial point of view. The talk now is 15,000. 15,000 stadium being built on Old Trafford for the women's team, and probably other little things going along with it. But he does not see that financial sense. So when he talks about money not being his involvement and all that, well, he's involving himself in money. The money side of it when it comes to a 15,000 stadium. Listen, Jim Ratcliffe wants a brand new stadium and he wants it all developed round there. There will be plans and ideas to build hotels and everything on there. Is that more financial for the Glazers and Sir Jim Ratcliffe? Of course it is. Having a 15,000 stadium there, what's not used every day, doesn't make economical sense as far as I'm concerned when you've just built a 100,000 stadium. You want the infrastructure around it. You want to bring people. He talks about bringing people to Old Trafford every day. Well, a 15,000 seat stadium for the women's team isn't financial. It's the financial side of it doesn't work out. The women's game does not produce the money. The attendances isn't there. They know that based on the current figures, and the money being brought in by sponsors and everything is not there for the women's game. They're poorly paid, and that's based on what comes in, the income, what comes in. You see Premier League players, they're paid fortunes, and that's because the money comes in from outside. It does not suit the women's game. So having a 15,000 seater stadium there is not financially viable.
Yeah, it's not that it just doesn't suit the women's game. You've also got to look at when they do play the academy teams themselves, if they was to use that stadium, some of them will be playing near enough on the same days. And all about with the women's, Now, is the broadcast revenue there as well? Because that's what gives a huge lift and a big buck to all this Premier League football as well. So is that there? And then they may be possibly looking at that.
Well, they've already looked at what the cost is for women's game and all that, and it's not there at the moment. The talk is 15,000 stadium with a chance to redevelop it as time goes on, if it brings in. But that's a gamble, and I don't think it's the time to take a gamble. So I don't think a new stadium will be built there. I actually believe, from the conversations and the articles what I've been reading, right, the stadium will be knocked down and it will be redeveloped.
I think there'd be an actual market, even on match days. Yeah, you've got the match going fan going inside the ground, but there would be a market for where Old Trafford is if you had some sort of fan park as well. Yes. I still think people would turn up to get the match day atmosphere soaked in and be able to watch it on these state-of-the-art screens. Like I did see in a bar next to one of the stadiums we played in Los Angeles in pre-season.
Yeah, well, listen, there's lots of opportunities there what can be used, okay, to bring people in every day, and that's what they want. That's why they want to build the infrastructure, and it's all good, but it's all about cost, and Neville quite clearly knows it's all about cost.
Yeah, just going to dive into the chat as well, get some of your comments in. How long before a new stadium would need upgrades or renovation? The new stadium will need to have the future in mind. Totally agree with that. It's got to be the most, well, you're looking at the Bernabeu, it's got to compete with that or better.
I think this will be better than anything what's been built, to be perfectly honest with you. If you look at who United are actually partnered up with, Snapdragon there, with all their innovations and everything, with technology and everything, I think they've got the right partner going forward, and that's why I do believe it will be a new stadium. This will be the best stadium in the world. Right, modern. I look at it and I sort of think about it and think, I can't even vision how good of an experience it's going to be for fans to be in there. Yes, it goes away from the fan culture, what I grew up with, but life moves on. Every 10 years it moves on. But this is going to be built for the next 100 years. And it's got to be right, and it's got to be the best. And Sir Jim Ratcliffe, like I say, he wants the best. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, Gricka sort of reiterates your comments and feelings there of being a United fan for so long. And he says, 30 years a season ticket holder, time to move forwards and not look back. A new stadium for me, match day experience, more than a burger van, and it would be a world-class home. Bring it on.
Yeah, well,
do you get that feeling as well, speaking to other match-going fans as well, who we all see on a match day?
No, listen, it's a new stadium. That's how I see the majority, and that's what I hear, and it's right. Once this decision has been made on the 31st of December, what will happen then is that the design team will crack on, whether, I think it's just PR when they talk about either one or the other, redevelopment or the new stadium. Listen, they'll crack on with the new stadium, and then what they'll do, United, Ineos and everything else like that, they will then start looking at where the money's coming from. And I think they've got big hurdles, to be honest with you, looking at the infrastructure in and around Old Trafford for the local area and everything. I think they've got massive problems there, because if they're going to ask the government for money, I think there will be uproar. And like I say, the council's there, and you've got the local community. How big is the local community? That's the thing. How far will the expansion go? Who will it affect? So at the end of the day, you will get lots of objections. So what's the timeline on this? I can't put a timeline on it. It's like 5 years, is it? I can't see it being done within 5 years. I think the process going forward with what they want, and what they're trying to achieve with the infrastructure, it's a long process. But they've just got to crack on, get that design, and then just knock everything down around there until the final date's given.
Yeah, with the regeneration of the surrounding area as well, with Trafford Council, as we know, the amount of objections that do go into plans, and that's going to have to be took into consideration as well.
Yeah. Well, I just look at Trafford Council as being, people out there, and possibly people in and around the advisory board are thinking, we've got the council on board, it'll be easy. Listen, I look at Trafford Council, many people, you know what it's like getting away from Old Trafford, day or night game. It is horrendous. They just put up bike lanes everywhere. That's who they think of, right? So they're going to have to change their policy.
Them cones on a match day It's like when we're travelling up to Hotel Football, some days the cones won't be out there, but they always seem to be out on a match day, and it just makes getting to the ground and getting out of it so much harder.
Yeah, it won't be a smooth process, this will be a hard, laborious process. But at the end of the day, Sir Jim Ratcliffe's there, and he's got the money. Will he put his own money in it? I'm not too sure. Until he gets full control, or the majority control of Manchester United, I don't think he will push ahead with any plans, because it'd be very dangerous from his point of view, as I see it, for him to push ahead until he's got control, either a majority or he's got full control.
Yeah, Paul says in the chat, where would we play if the stadium gets demolished, the current one? Can't see it standing while the new stadium is being built. Well, if we're building a new stadium, I don't see why not. We can just carry on playing at Old Trafford, surely.
I think you're not clear, to be honest, on how much land is there at Manchester United. There is a freight terminal and everything, and it goes so far back. Yeah. The possibility is there to build while Old Trafford stays up and we play at Old Trafford. It is a good possibility. I don't see any objects. I don't see any problems going forward playing at Old Trafford while we build a new ground. Yes, there will be parking restrictions, many parking restrictions. We'll have to find a solution for that, but I'm sure they will. But the actual acreage behind Old Trafford is enormous, and you'd be very, very surprised if you take a walk round there and you actually see what Manchester United own. They own a tremendous amount.
Well, to be fair, we actually done a video on it, didn't we, for our members in our members club, but we will have to, I think, update one on the main channel in the near future, just to show you how much land it actually is, because on a match day you don't really get a feel of it, do you, because of everything that's going on. You with your pals, etc., talking about the game, focusing on the game, so you don't really have time to look round. But on that video, when you actually walked around the stadium like we did, it's actually mind-boggling to think what can actually be built on there.
I go back to this. Well, it is mind-boggling until you actually walk it. I go back to the advisory board. They want it all to be inclusive in the master plan. You know when we talked about fans and council and everything else like that. You've got Seb Coe on there, and you've got Andy Burnham, who's the mayor of Manchester. They're all there. They're all the people. They're all listening. Gary Neville guarantees that the fans' voices will be heard, and don't be sceptical about it. But you have to be sceptical about it, because at the end of the day, it's a 100,000-seat stadium. That's what Sir Jim Ratcliffe wants. So the fans, will they be heard?
Big business.
It's big business, and it's all about money.
I do believe, though, that the fans should have a say through whatever means, in terms of whatever decision they do decide in, like, let's say, sections of the ground, like Borussia Dortmund have got the yellow wall. Why can't we have our own, like a red wall, and do it in how our fans want to see it?
I think the fans' wishes will be sort of taken into consideration minutely. The design will sort it out. There will be consultation, and they don't want it to be a soulless place. They want it to be a fan engagement experience. So I don't believe the design is going to mess up the fans' engagement, the fans' experience and everything else like that. I think it'll be a fantastic stadium, and it'll create a great atmosphere. I personally can't wait. I just hope I'm here by the time they get it built.
Oh, you will be. The amount of miles you do on your bike, you do more than some of them United players in training, to be quite honest with you, when you see them on a match day. But
not when it's cold, son.
I get a phone call, come and pick me up, son. It's not the weather for it today.
No.
But yeah, so you're set on it, new stadium. A lot of people in the comments are agreeing as well, but they've got issues around, like, infrastructure in terms of just getting to and from the ground, like we mentioned before. Obviously the fan experience as well, which that would be a real, that's what brings me the most excitement in what they can actually deliver for the fan on a match day as well. Because like you said, I can't actually imagine a lot of it, what they can actually create, because it's going to be state-of-the-art technology.
Yeah, well, it's technology. It's just not it's not just for inside, it's for around the stadium as well. I think the infrastructure there, they will build retail the units, they'll build a hotel there, they'll build many things there. They'll also bring concerts there. I think what they've got planned is far beyond than what I can think, and it's the technology going forward. And that's why I just mentioned before about Snapdragon. They've jumped right on it with sponsoring United. They've upgraded their whether it was a year sponsorship to a 3-year to 5-year, they will be here for a long, long time, Snapdragon. And at the end of the day, sponsors like Snapdragon, will they come in and will the naming rights go to them in some way? We have discussed it before. Fans have talked about it. Some fans are happy about naming rights, some fans aren't. But a new stadium is a new stadium. It's not the old.
And that's what comes with it, with a new stadium for me, the change of the name.
Yeah.
You know, let's just say, for instance, it's the Ineos Stadium at Old Trafford. Got no problems
No, I've no problems
at all. If you're going for a new stadium, we want the best experience on a match day as well. You've got to accept them things.
You've got to accept it. It won't be the Theatre of Dreams as we know. So using the Theatre of Dreams inside the naming just won't sit well with me.
Glenn says, I hope a United bar will be in the new stadium, named the United Reds Free House. I can't see anything being for free in that new stadium, to be honest with you, mate. And we might see a bit of a price hike on tickets as well.
I think you'll definitely see prices there go sky high like you wouldn't believe. But I also think with the people, you've got Gary Neville there on the advisory board, they will be really in Sir Jim Ratcliffe's here, providing a certain amount of tickets for the community at a reasonable price.
Stretford Reds, a red wall, question mark, not sure. It would be good, but most United fans don't want drums in the ground and ultras. That's the only reason Germany has a good atmosphere. I don't know, mate. I think us fans, United fans, we're unique. We're different to most fans out there, especially the travelling support as well. And I can't really see it myself, or would want that, where you've got drums next to you or in the section that you're sitting, to be honest with you. I think we'll be able to create our own unique atmosphere as Manchester United fans.
Well, I look at this, fans creating an atmosphere. I look at Manchester City, right? They suddenly walked into that Etihad Stadium, and then what they started producing was all these big flags where people get paid to stand with these flags inside the ground, whether it's around the pitch or inside. And to me, it's embarrassing, and it's a false atmosphere. If you look at Chelsea Football Club, how embarrassing is that, to have people paid to stand there waving flags along the side of the pitch? It's embarrassing. And to be honest with you, Liverpool went down that route. Did they do it on a bigger scale? I'm not too sure. But what I see is people there preparing big flags inside the stadium to wave. I do not want that. I want the fans to generate the noise and create the atmosphere.
Like before a game as well, when you see it, it's like a sort of concert atmosphere. You know, for like the 15 minutes, half an hour before kickoff, you know, they've got all the music blaring, lights going here, there, and everywhere. You know, it should be about the fans getting in there early, enjoying the fan experience that's inside the ground, what's been created through a new stadium, and get the atmosphere going through the singing, the chanting of the Manchester United fans as well.
Well, they will do everything possible to get fans inside that ground as early as possible to spend money.
Yeah.
That will be the objective, and they will use any tactic to create an atmosphere and get people in there for an experience, but the experience will come at a cost.
Wouldn't it be great if Man United could win a Premier League trophy, though, before we move from the current Old Trafford Stadium?
Stop.
Wouldn't that be great?
We'll be doing that soon, don't you?
Yeah.
But when will that be? Probably in about 3-4 years. That's how I look at it, not before that.
Sir Jim Ratcliffe said in 3 years' time he wants to be challenging at the top, so...
Well, challenging is a good thing, and I'll be happy with challenging in 3 years. But winning the Premier League, I can't see it in the next 3 years. There's a long way to go, a big build.
Yeah, a few people are mentioning in the chat as well, agreeing with you that they don't want all that flag waving inside the ground.
No.
You know, 15 minutes, 20 minutes before kick-off, all that sort of stuff, which, like I say, we're unique as Manchester United fans. We can create our own atmosphere. We don't need all that sort of like concert vibe of music blaring, a light show, you know, flamethrowers and all that sort of stuff. We want to just keep it and the soul of what we've built over the years, like from your generation, even before, going up all the way until the present.
Look, there's one big bugbear I have, and I've just mentioned it, and I will not accept anybody stood on the sideline with a flag waving it to try and create an atmosphere, a false atmosphere for the TV. And that's all it is. Chelsea do it magnificently, and it's embarrassing. Right along, down the side, all the flags are waving so all the cameras can see it. There's no one behind him saying anything or doing anything. And then the music plays. It's embarrassing. And City do it behind the goal, right next to the away supporters. And that is so embarrassing. But that's Manchester City. You don't expect any different, do we?
Yeah, Stretford Reds agreed with what you said. So we can never get a yellow wall at Old Trafford, so I can just see it being soulless. Yeah, I get what you mean. I'm not like basing it just purely off how Borussia Dortmund do. I mean, just creating our own through our own fan atmosphere and, yeah, just the types of, like, chantings, songs, you know, that's something that I'd have to have discussions with fan groups that are inside Manchester United to create that as well, and also the season ticket holders. But I just think it'd be good to have that, like, sort of one base behind a goal where, you know, you can see it throughout the world, fans around the world to, like, sort of soak up a vibe of the match-going fan, actually giving that to the rest of the world.
Well, that's what you want. You want one,
but no drums, no flags.
You want
make that clear.
One big end for the new stadium, and then everyone else can sit there and enjoy it in whatever way the experience is being given to you. But the stadium, you know, I'm excited for it, and everyone should be. I believe Neville wants a new stadium, and I think everyone else does. Him being not committed one way or the other disappoints me, really. But hey, when I see him, I will tell him.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. Mason Mount and Højlund are seen yesterday on pictures and this morning back training with the squad. Do we think they'll be available for Palace on the weekend? I actually do think they'll be in the squad, but I just don't think they'll be starting.
No, I think they'll be in the squad. I did say the other day, this squad's going to get stronger and stronger as people start coming back. They've been pictured out there on the training pitch, getting involved in that. Obviously, it'll take a while, depending on what goes on the game. You never know. They might get 10, 15 minutes, which will be good. But there's opportunities over the next few weeks for them to get game time. But them two coming back, and there'll be others coming back, and that's what we're looking forward to. This is going to be a competitive squad. That's how I see it. Players know what they've got to do. The pressure's on them. There's no shirkers here. The people in the background are not accepting it, and they all know the rules now. You're not doing it, you're out, and that's how it should be.
Competition for places, that's what it's about. Yeah. Especially since Ineos have come in, they've sort of made that clear. And I hope to see a stronger squad as well in the next 12 to 18 months with the summer transfer windows and possibly the January transfer window, even this season.
With Mason Mount coming back, it's going to be very interesting what Erik ten Hag does with him, because he wanted him to start until he got injured. He wanted him to start. He was focused on Mason Mount being in that team and delivering. He wanted him to start and going forward with him. That's how I looked at it, by him picking Mason Mount and playing him. So Erik ten Hag, to me, I think, will he revert back to it? I'm not too sure. I think this team is will develop as it goes on. But I think the plan for Mason Mount has been disruptive, and he might struggle to get back in this team if it continues in the last couple of games going forward, scoring goals.
No flags, no chance was one of the chats in the live chat. Totally agree with that. Going to end today's video there. Thought I'd just do a bit of a brief overview, our opinions as well on the latest news surrounding Old Trafford. Obviously, Gary Neville's comments as well, and good news surrounding Mason Mount and Højlund as well, returning to training. Yeah. So thanks everyone for joining us, getting involved in the chat. Some great opinions in there today, Reds, I must say, and continue the conversation as well in the comments section, and smash that like button to help support the channel. We will be back tomorrow from Hotel Football, doing a live video around about 12, half 12. So hopefully we can see you all there. Enjoy your day, and we'll see you again soon. Thank you.